Ranking every version of Dr. Wily's castle from worst to best.
Starting off this list, we have Mega Man 8, which I Mega Man hate. I mean, I don't really, but when it comes to Wily castles, this one is objectively the worst one, right? I mean, first of all, it's just ugly. That's not a very good start. I understand they're trying to show off some 3D effects and whatnot here, but this is gross looking and I hate it. But the levels are even worse. We start off with jump, jump, slide, slide, but even worse than in Frostman stage. Once again, not a great start. And the boss for this level is a Titamino, which I think I can confidently say we all hate this guy, right? Well, if you guys don't, then I do at the very least. The music is at least good, but that's something that Mega Man 8 consistently delivers on despite all of its flaws. Wily Stage 2, though, is somehow even worse than the first stage. We have a long and boring auto-scroller. I mean, jump, jump, slide, slide is technically an auto-scroller, I suppose, but at least in that one there is a challenge, and it feels like you're doing something fun, like, I don't know, playing a video game, but this auto-scroller is just boring. Now, to be fair, it's not as boring as a lot of other auto-scrollers, since I do enjoy seeing most of the Mega Man cast make an appearance in these titular Mega Man 8 auto-scrollers, but it's still not fun at all. And to make matters worse, even the boss in this stage is part of the auto-scroller, so have fun with that, I guess. Stage 3 is easily the best stage for Mega Man 8's Wily Castle. It's nothing super special, but the ball strats and even the rush motorcycle strats you're able to do in this stage make it pretty fun and memorable. I mean, if you guys haven't seen the task for this game, please go check it out. I even have a reaction video if you'd rather watch that, but I don't know why you would. Anyway, you also get to fight Bass in this stage, which is always fun, but he's of course not the main boss of this level. That would go to the Green Devil, and while normally devil bosses are annoying, this one is actually pretty fun. But sadly, that is the only good stage in this Wily Castle, and even this isn't anything to like write home about. Even the boss refight stage is ugly. I know, since moving on from the 8-bit games, you can't really have all the teleporters on screen at once, but still, I don't like how this stage looks. So overall, I think that Mega Man 8's Wily Castle is clearly the worst one, even though it's not a 0 out of 10 or anything. It just has levels that are either objectively bad or Wily 3, which, while fun, is not great or memorable. The music is great though. We can all agree that's something that Mega Man 8 consistently delivers on. But next up, it's Rockman and Forte time. Oh yeah, you already know what time it is. But I think we all know why this castle is so low on this list. Yes, it's technically a king castle, but that's basically a Wily castle, right? Anyway, this castle is certainly fun if you're a Rockman and Forte expert, but it's unreasonably difficult, especially if you're playing as Rockman. If you're playing as Forte, it's a little bit more manageable, but come on. Anyway, King Stage 2 is the main reason this castle is so low. The stage itself is fun, but they combine way too many elements into one level, and that's just stupid. Now, obviously, my subscribers are the greatest Mega Man players of all time, so I'm sure they have no issues with this, but it's objectively a bad choice to basically combine two stages into one. I don't know why they even did that. I mean, there's only 3 official stages in this castle, which is way too little. If they just split King Stage 2 into 2 distinct stages, it would probably go up a few spots on this list, and it would probably be more well received in general. But that flaw alone is going to keep this entry as low as it is. Mega Man 11 is up next, because this castle just does not have enough levels. I will say, we are getting to the point where these Wily castles are not even bad, they're just worse than all the other ones, which does sound like they're bad, but it turns out Mega Man is typically a great game and does not miss very often. So I'll go ahead and say that this Wily castle is like a 7.5 out of 10, and it's only getting better from here. Anyway, the main problem is there's only 2 real levels. I mean, the first level is just fine. It's actually a pretty fun level, and it reminds me of the first part of Wily 1 from Mega Man 2. Then in Wily 2 from this game, we have an interesting stage that clearly just wants you to use the double gear system, but still gives you a good time. But after that, that's it. We have a fake stage 3 followed by the refights, but this does not count as a stage. Come on. Why is the boss refight in Wily 3? What happened to the days in Wily castles when they had 4 levels before any of these shenanigans? The refight should be in Wily 5 for Pete's sake. And Wily 6 should be the final level if there's any like cool secrets or, you know, story stuff. Anyway, I do like Mega Man 11's Wily Castle, don't get me wrong, but it's just incredibly short, which is, I think, one of the main reasons that Mega Man 11 is so forgotten about in general, but I can make an entire video talking about specifically that in the future if any of you want to see that. Mega Man 1 is kind of the opposite of Mega Man 11, since this game was first and Mega Man 11 was last, at least so far. Anyway, I do have a soft spot for this Wily Castle, but I'm trying to look at things objectively for this video, and I think there are enough flaws to justify being this low on the list. Now, Wily 1 is a pretty good stage. First of all, it's iconic, and I always love when the first Wily stage starts outside and then you break your way into the lair. I don't know why I like that so much, but in the past few videos I've noticed I've been talking about that a lot lately. But anyway, these gut defense blocks blocking the entrance really makes it feel like you're literally breaking in, and I think they're extra significant if you consider the game design fundamentals, but I discussed that in my Mega Man 1 review video. These Iceman platforms can be annoying, but by now you should have the magnet beam and just skip them. Some people do complain that you're required to use the magnet beam in this room, which I guess is a fair complaint, but I just don't agree. I don't mind having to use it here, and if anything, it feels like the game wants to make sure you know there's a secret weapon, and to me that's cool. Of course, the final boss here is the Yellow Devil, who, while frustrating for beginners, is very iconic. Plus, he is very easy to learn the pattern of. One day I'll make a guide on how to beat all the bosses, but for now you at least have the how to beat Mega Man 1 the cool way video to tide you over. Anyway, Wily 2 is where things start to go downhill. This is not the worst stage ever by any means, but it is annoying, ugly, and repetitive. I also don't really like how the bosses show up mid-stage. I know Mega Man 1 set the trend with this, and since it was the first Mega Man game, I should cut it some slack, but I've always preferred the dedicated refight stages to this. But honestly, in Wily 2, it's not so bad. It fits pretty seamlessly. The end of this stage is the only fun part though, since you can murk everything with your elect beam, and that's fun. But Copy Mega Man is not fun. I think there is a way to cheese this guy, but I still gotta learn how to do that. Wily 3, however, takes us back on the up and up because I love this stage. It is a little bit short, but it's the most fun Wily stage in this game by far. Even the final bubble boss is pretty fun despite it being easy. But then we have Wily 4, which isn't bad at all, but I feel like has too much squished into one level. I do like this design. I think the actual stage is pretty nice, but adding in 4 refights and the Wily machine at the end just feels like too much for one level. Not too much in the sense of being too difficult or anything, just as far as like a to-do list. And again, this is the first Mega Man Wily Castle ever, so if I wasn't being so objective, I'd put this a lot higher on the list, but Wily 2's atrocities alone justify it being this low in the video. Next up, we have none other than Mr. X. Now, this is another point where things really start to get good, but there are a few things stopping this castle from achieving GOAT status. The first stage in this castle is super fun and iconic. It does have a few annoying sections, and the jumps that you have to make to get the secret pathway are certainly stupid, as I talk about in my stupidest jumps video, but I think it's worth it, and the secret pathway is just way too cool to act like this isn't fun, so stage 1 is just fine. The final boss is a little bit weird, but it feels like your standard everyday Wily Castle boss, so it's not a problem by any means. Stage 2 does get a little bit more bland. I mean, it certainly looks like a Wily Castle, but this is one of those less memorable ones for sure. Nothing super interesting about this stage. In fact, my favorite part is the boss fight against the thing on the wall. I mean, if you run out of tomahawks, then well, get good, I guess, but I love this boss as target practice, and it's just a fun fight all around. The third stage is a weird mix of annoying and bland. Again, it feels like a Wily Castle stage, nothing offensive here, but we're getting into mid territory, if that makes sense. And I mean mid for Mega Man standards, so like a 7 out of 10. But the boss fight is Matongar Z, so 10 out of 10. We all love Matongar Z, baby, come on. This guy is actually the only reason I put it above the Mega Man 1 castle, because both of these castles are great. Again, this is where things start to get really fun and hard to rank, but Matongar Z is way too iconic, I'm sure you agree. Anyway, this is followed by another mid and annoying stage. I don't like these birds that just jump out of the eggs, but I've talked about them enough in numerous videos. This isn't a bad stage though, don't get it twisted, it's just a little bit annoying. Of course, the Mr. X fight itself is pretty fun, nothing special, but it is fun to just punch that ball that Mr. X is sitting in over and over again until he explodes and reveals he's Dr. Wily. Oh, spoilers by the way. Either way, to sum it up, this is a great castle even objectively, but it's mostly unmemorable, which is the only reason it's so low on this list. Oh, and also because all the other Wily castles are just so much better. Not much better, but they're so good, you know?
With the first 5 Dr. Wily's castles taken care of, you probably noticed that Mr. X managed to slip his way into there, which means that the non-Wily castles are included too. Now, this means that the games with 2 castles are counted individually, as in each castle is an individual entry on this list, and I haven't edited this video yet, as you can see I'm here right now, so I don't know if I added transitions or numbers, but if you didn't know, that means we have 10 castles left. And speaking of 10,
we have Mega Man 10. Was that a good transition? I hope so, otherwise that would be cringe. Anyway, this castle is great. We start out in the rain, entering the actual castle, which I think is super cool as always. The outside section kind of reminds me of Mega Man 3's Wily one a little bit, but it's still great. The inside is a bit more boring, but the 3 triple boss fight sections in this stage make up for all of that. The second Dr. Wily stage is my favorite one in this game because it's just so fun. Lots of people complain that it's too hard, but lots of people are bad at Mega Man, I guess, unlike my subscribers who are all great at Mega Man. The only thing that takes away from this stage is the boss fight being a giant crab, which is funny for sure, but this boss fight is not that great. Then Wily 3 is like half super cool and fun and half boring auto-scroller, so it's hard to even think about this one as a whole. It mixes some of the best parts from Wily castles with auto-scrollers. Wily 4 is of course the refights, and then we have Wily 5 in space, which is super cool and reminds me of Mega Man 2's Secret Alien Passage. Not in terms of like how it looks, but just as far as it being like an extra level, you know? Anyway, this castle is great. The only reason it's so low is due to Wily 3 having 2 auto-scrollers, Wily 1 being mostly inside and kind of bland, and also the block devil showing up in Wily 3. That guy sucks. Mega Man 6's Wily Castle is such a sleeper pick though. It's similar to Mega Man 10's Wily Castle as far as averages go, but instead of having a lot of flaws that sink it down, it has next to none with the highs that aren't quite as high but still pretty good, and it averages out to be just a little bit better. You guys know what averages are, right? Math, you know math. Wily 1 is incredibly fun. I love the giant drop in the beginning of the stage, as well as the secret pathways you're able to go through. Well, I don't know how secret they really are, but they're certainly optional, and that's cool. Plus, the boss fight at the end is Mechasaurus, who's super cool. Wily 2 is just straight up iconic. Maybe it's the nostalgia, but I love the ice design on top of the level design, and it just puts everything together so nicely. And again, we have some optional pathways. There's nothing super special about this level, but I just like it and think it's fun. The boss at the end is one I've made fun of countless times in previous videos talking about castle bosses, but regardless of whether or not this thing should be considered a tank or not, it's still a fun time gameplay wise. And Wily 3 is admittedly a little bit short for my liking, but it's incredibly fun. It reminds me of Wily 3 from Mega Man 2 or Wily 3 from Mega Man 1, which are also both short and fun, but I think this Wily 3 is more fun at least than the Mega Man 2 Wily 3. Anyway, I'm a big fan. You get it because there's fan. Now this does end up becoming a refight stage, which is a shame, but I can excuse the lack of levels in this castle due to coming after Mr. X's castle, as well as the fact that the level we get before the refights feels like the perfect length on top of just being plain old fun. So even though this castle is short, I still think it's slept on. Mega Man 9's Wily Castle, on the other hand, I would claim to be overrated. Now wait, don't yell at me yet, relax. I do not think the castle is bad. We're already in like the 8.75 to 9 out of 10 section of Wily Castles, and that's on a Mega Man scale. On a platforming game scale, we've passed 10 out of 10 a while back. Anyway, we start off with a pretty background and some annoying holes, followed by some required weapon use, which can be annoying. I know I said before that it was not that bad in Mega Man 1, but that was like teaching you that you're able to break those bricks with guts blocks, which is great to know since you need that information to get the magnet beam, and you know, for people without internet back in the day, that was basically a tutorial. This, on the other hand, while fun and not necessarily bad, feels redundant. Like we're using weapons to do these things and not special items. I don't know, this is definitely a nitpick, but it's something I always thought felt more out of place in the other instances of basically the same thing. Anyway, there are a few rooms that feel pointless that get made up by the fact that you get to fight a dragon mid-stage. Then you have these lava beams that my little brother had trouble with somehow. That's right, I'm calling you out, Scramble 4. Go ping him in my Discord server in the description and call him a noob. Don't even give him any context, I think it'll be funny. Just call him a noob, everybody. Anyway, the boss in Wily 1 is not anything special. It's fun, but it's nerve-wracking. Wily 2 is also fun for the most part, but not the entire time. I love the underwater sections, for example, but a lot of the other sections get repetitive at worst. But they are still fun, don't get the wrong idea. It's just hard to explain minor critiques in the middle sections of this video. Like, this isn't a review, so I can't go too much in depth, and it's not even bad. This is the middle section of the video. You get the idea. Also, the boss is Mega Mecha Shark, which is both fun to say and fight. Wily 3 is a lot like Wily 3 from Mega Man 10. The only difference is that the auto-scrollers are actually a little bit fun somehow, at least as far as auto-scrollers go. Even the boss is another double boss that's more fun than Mega Man 10's version. Wily 3 alone from this game is one of the main reasons it's barely better than Mega Man 10's castle, and if it's barely better than Mega Man 10's castle, you don't even want to know how close it was to Mega Man 6's Wily Castle, but Mega Man 4's Wily Castle is yet another close one. But this one starts with a stage all about Mets, so this is cool. This is so cool. This is where they all live. You guys like Mets, right? I certainly do, as you've seen in my videos. So this stage is an automatic 10 out of 10, especially when the boss is literally Metal Daddy. Wily Stage 2 is one of those stages that looks like a run-of-the-mill mid-Wily stage, but I'm not sure what it is. Wily Stage 2 is one of those stages that looks like a run-of-the-mill Wily stage. I'm not sure what it is about it, but the level design in this one is really fun. I can't explain it super well, but I'm sure those of you who've played Mega Man 4 understand that this stage is way more fun than it looks. The only problems with this castle arise in Wily 3. This is a short stage followed by a refight section, much like Mega Man 6's Wily 3. The only problem is this stage isn't as well done as the one from Mega Man 6, so the castle just starts to fall off here due to being too short. The first two stages are absolute bangers, and then it just kind of ends, but this castle is still great overall, and I would rather it end too soon after being amazing than drag on too long and become boring. Mega Man 3, more like Mega Man P. This castle is super fun. We of course start outside and break in, and we all know I love that, but this first stage is just super fun. I don't care if it's illegal to club penguins, you can't stop me from killing these guys. This stage is incredibly fun and feels like a Wily stage should. Then it's followed by a very weird boss, but despite being very weird, this boss is fun too. Wily Stage 2 is a little bit less fun, but it's still a good time. I'm sure if the game didn't start lagging whenever the bees showed up, it would be amazing, but unfortunately it does lag, so instead it's just really good. This is then followed by the Yellow Devil Mark II. I know a lot of people hate the Yellow Devil, but I appreciate a throwback like this, and I think it's super cool. Wily 3 gets a little bit more boring, but that's made up for by these cool moving platform spiked rooms. The boss fight in this stage does suck though. I know you can glitch it by using topspin with rush coil, but I don't care. This boss fight is stupid and honestly holding this castle down as a whole. It could potentially be 2 or 3 spots higher if this boss did not exist. Next is Wily 4, which is a very quick stage before the refight, so there's not much to really even comment on here. This castle, if anything, is a little bit too easy, especially when you take into account how many free E-tanks and extra lives are just thrown at you throughout the whole thing. But I'm pretty sure that's to make up for the dock robots earlier, which do not count for this video, of course. Maybe I can make a video dedicated to the dock robots in the future, so leave a comment if you want to see that.
But now we enter the top 5 castles of all time. Not even just from Dr. Wily, but from any villain at this point.
Oh, like Tooterp Pizza?
Who is that?
Who's what?
Who is that person?
What are you talking about?
Ooh-wee, it's Mega Man 2. Now, I love Mega Man 2. That's it, I just love Mega Man 2. Wily Stage 1 is quite possibly the most iconic Wily stage of all time. We have the most popular Mega Man OST of all time, maybe next to Mega Man 2's title theme, and once again, we're starting outside and breaking our way into the Wily Castle. This level is pretty short, but it shows you how to use your special items and what they're for, which I do think is better than in Mega Man 9, where you have to use your weapons for what seems like arbitrary reasons. The boss in this stage is the Mech Dragon, which is one of my favorite Wily Castle bosses of all time. Wily 2 I feel like is super underrated. People complain about this stage from what I've seen, but I think it's pretty fun, especially if you go for the glitch in the first room, but that's an advanced strat that I would only recommend to my subscribers. This stage is pretty straightforward though, and I think it's fun to go for the nothing but net dunk right before fighting the literal walls. This is a super fun boss fight, and I also like this shade of pink. Wily 3 is pretty short, but it's also a great time. Very similar to Wily 3 from Mega Man 1, but not as fun as that one. That's made up for though by the fact that we have Guts Dozer at the end. That's right, Guts Man is back. I love when Guts Man returns, except I guess Dr. Wily had to get rid of his dummy thick rump. I thought Snake and Smash Ultimate was bad, but this is a different level of nerfing. Anyway, of course we do have the infamous Wily Stage 4. This stage is as notorious for being frustrating as Wily 1 is for being good. Even the music gets worse starting with Wily 3. Now I will say I do think Wily 4 is overhated, but it's certainly not a fun stage. At least not super fun. I mean, it's not boring. Even with glitches, this stage is just intense, which admittedly is fitting for a Wily castle. I just don't like waiting on these platforms, so I personally don't. I use damage boost strats, which only help a little bit, but of course the main problem with Wily 4 is the boo beam trap at the end of the level. If you miss a shot or run out of ammo for your items, you basically just have to die and then farm these giant Sniper Joe Walker things, and this is stupid. I think it's aged even worse than how it was originally. There are of course tricks to save crash bombs and not get hit by the attacks, but this boss fight and stage are holding this castle back from being literally the greatest of all time. Also, Wily 5 is just the refights, and this stage looks cool. This is how I want refights to be, and Wily 6 being so cool and secretly mysterious is what brought this back into the top 5 castles in the first place. I know this is barely a level, but it just has aura. It's not even on the Wily Castle map, for goodness sake. Mega Man 7 may have the most anticipated Wily Castle at this point though, because in my last few videos I keep bringing up how this one's underrated, and I still feel like it is. I mean, it's clearly not the best one, but it's not talked about enough. The first stage is a masterpiece. We start outside and enter the castle, which I am a sucker for, but the level design is unique, challenging, and fun at the same time, which I think is the perfect combination for a Wily Castle level. Even the music is a 10 out of 10. Now, I haven't really been mentioning the music all that often, let alone in every entry, because we all know the music is always amazing in Mega Man, especially when it comes to the Wily Castles, but Mega Man 7 just takes it to another level. We even have a quick run-in with Bass in Wily Stage 1, and to top everything off, we get to fight Guts Man again? This is the perfect start to a Wily Castle. Then we have a stage fully designed around turtles, which is great if you like turtles, I guess. This stage is fun though, when we have another run-in with Bass, except this time he fusion dances with Treble to make himself purple. And we can do the same thing as Mega Man, which is one of the coolest things you can do in any Mega Man game. Then as the final boss of this stage, you guessed it, it is a turtle. But that's the worst stage in this castle, which is saying a lot because that was pretty good. Wily 3 brings back some more amazing level design without any Bass appearances or gimmicks, but you really start to realize you're getting close to the end, and once again, this level is just fun. It's never boring. Plus the boss even looks like a Wily machine. I thought this was a Wily machine in a couple of my Wily Castle boss videos, so I got tricked, I guess. I don't know. This guy looks like a Wily machine, right? Come on. Anyway, in Wily 4, we of course have the refights, which is probably the worst part of this castle, since I prefer the ones where I don't have to wait on a slow elevator to fight the boss, but this is still better than Mega Man 1 / Rockman and Forte's method. But this castle is just amazing, and I think Mega Man 7 in general is slept on as a game, but we can talk about that whenever I get around to reviewing it. Dr. Cossack is probably not a castle you expected to see up so high on the this list, but it's just so good. We of course start outside and break in, as all great castles do, but this outside section is one of my favorites from any Wily castle. The speed run strats of going through the skeleton guides and invincibility frames is just difficult enough to feel extremely rewarding while also being able to learn it. I love this section so much, and honestly it carries the entire castle. It is of course followed by scaling the castle and then fighting maybe the ugliest boss of all time, but this is still a fun fight as long as you don't go blind. In fact, if you do go blind, it's still probably pretty fun if you learn how to play the game while blind. Wily Stage 2 gets a little bit more boring, but it's all made up for by the beautiful view through the window in the background. We even get to see the snow that was covering the ground in Cossack 1. The section with those spinning blocks is also really fun to me, and fighting these square is also a pretty fun time. Now, Cossack 3 is an auto-scroller, but this is the best auto-scroller in any Wily castle. Well, I guess there's the Mega Man 9 one, but that's only kind of an auto-scroller, you know what I mean. This one is still an auto-scroller, but it's not as bad as most of the others. It's a pretty stage, there's stuff to do, and there's even some stage to play yourself without it automatically scrolling. That's great, that's my favorite part of auto-scrollers, when it doesn't automatically scroll. But this is honestly tanking this castle, and it almost didn't make it to the top 3 just due to this stage alone. But the music is so good that it makes up for these small issues. Again, all Wily Castle music is good, but just like in Mega Man 7's Wily Castle, Dr. Cossack is just on another level. The 4th level is fairly small, though it feels like your average Wily stage followed by actually fighting Dr. Cossack in a claw machine, so that's cool. Now, I would understand if this is an entry people disagree with being too high on the list, but I don't care. I love this castle. It's easily one of the most fun, especially when you consider how great that first section of Cossack 1 is. I can't get over that speedrun strat. It's very fun and addicting. But Dr. Wily's castle in Mega Man 5 is even better. We start with an M-Tank and an E-Tank in the first room, followed by some super fun spike falls and great level design, all while Peak is playing through the NES sound chip. Even the Crusher section is fun and is followed by the famous chicken jump. Then that's followed by fighting big pets. Okay, that's not that cool, but he's alright, I guess. But now we have one of my favorite stages in all of Mega Man, Wily Stage 2. We have another M and E tank for you to pick up right as you jump into the water. Then we have an extremely fun and challenging underwater section where the platforming is just the epitome of Mega Man. This section is so fun, from the circular moving platforms to the mechs that shoot at you, and even the option to super arrow past it makes this section so good. We of course have some more fun and amazing platforming sections right after that, followed by fighting a circle, which is better than fighting that square at least. Then Wily 3 has a beautiful background, another E-Tank and M-Tank for you, and then refights. Okay, this is the only flaw with this Wily Castle. It's way too short. There's only 2 real stages. Both of those 2 stages are nearly perfect and some of the best Wily Castle stages of all time, but the only reason this isn't number 1 is because of that. It's too short, and that's due to the Proto Man Castle. This castle is what caused the Wily Castle to be so short, but my goodness, it was worth it. First of all, the fact that it's Proto Man's castle and not Dr. Wily's already gives it an extra bonus point, but once again we start outside and make our way in, which I love, followed by some great level design that is punishing if you're new, but super fun and replayable if you're good, like my subscriber. The sky is beautiful, there are super arrow strats everywhere, the music is great, we can skip these block puzzles, and we even have these watcher enemies that I might make a game theory style video on one day in the future if you guys still want to see that. Then at the end of the stage we fight the first Dark Man. No, I'm not being racist, that's his name. That's his name. Now this theme of fighting similarly designed robots at the end of every stage is something I really enjoy. I just wish they gave you more weapons so you'd have an unreasonably fun amount of weapons by the time you get to the real Wily Castle, but surely that would never happen in a Mega Man game, right? Anyway, after beating the guy with the tank wheel feet, we have yet another amazing stage. It might seem like it would be a run-of-the-mill castle stage, but then we get this section with the tank track platforms over a giant pit. This again seems like something a lot of people would complain about, but I think it's just so fun. The faster you go and the better you are in Mega Man, the more fun and satisfying this section is. This section alone could carry this stage, but the rest of the stage is also a great time. Then we of course fight Dark Man again, but this time with a shield thing. I don't know what this is, but it's cool. Oh, but surely the third stage can't live up to this, right? Wrong. We're outside once again because we're getting higher and higher in the castle, and as we scale these giant holes and defeat enemies, we're met with what looks like an auto-scroller. This ordinarily would have made this castle get ranked lower, but Mega Man 5 has the super arrow, which allows us to do some pretty precise shots and have even more fun. That's 3 banger stages in a row. And this time Dark Man looks like Vile from Mega Man X. This is super cool, and again might lead to me making a video essay on that alone. That's 2 potential video essays dedicated to one Mega Man castle. But surely the final Proto Man stage cannot be this cool, right? Wrong! This is one of the coolest concepts for a stage I have ever seen. Mega Man busts down the walls himself, or whatever these support pillars are called, making the room slowly collapse until he reaches the top. This is a short stage, but I think that's totally fine for being the last stage in the castle. On top of that, it's fun the whole time, but if it was much longer, this gimmick might get old. But it doesn't! Then the final boss boss turns out to not be Proto Man, but another Dark Man instead, this time the Ultimate Dark Man? This is amazing. What could possibly make this any better? Nice, a Dr. Wily cutscene to transition to the second best castle, making Proto Man's castle easily the best Dr. Wily castle of all time.
That was every version of Dr. Wily's castle ranked from worst to best. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a comment down below if you'd like to see me rank every version of Sigma's Fortress, because that could be fun to do, right?
I'm a Sigma male. Ohio, Onichan.
Don't say that to me.